Hey, what's going on, party people? Today we're going to be talking about how you can upgrade the live stream production for your church, for your ministry, for your nonprofit. If you're a gamer, if you're a content creator like myself, using something like the Atem Mini Pro. You can see I'm here in the multi-view of the Atem Mini Pro. The Atem Mini Pro, it allows me to be able to go back and forth and switch just like this. All right, and I want to be able to show you exactly how I got this done. So let's go ahead, jump right into the video. All right, so for those of you who have no clue what an Atem Mini is, the Atem Mini is basically a production switcher by the company Black Magic Design. They've been out for some time now, and the original, which they're no longer really supporting like that, is the Atem Mini. This one we're talking about in particular is the Atem Mini Pro, and that's what allows me to switch back and forth between these different camera angles. So those of you who are into live stream production, those of you who are into content creation, podcasting, this is a very great tool. A lot of you utilize software and you try to figure out, okay, number one, how do I turn my DSLR or my mirrorless camera into a webcam? You know, so you may use something like I typically use, like the Elgato Camlink 4K. But if you have multiple angles that you want to capture like this, then you need something like the Black Magic Design Atem Mini Pro. Now, just as a quick discussion piece, what is the difference between the Atem Mini Pro and the Atem Mini? The Atem Mini Pro actually has two things that distinguish it from its original counterpart, the Atem Mini. Number one, which is probably the most popular reason people get the Atem Mini Pro, is it actually has a multi-view output. All right, the multi-view output is what you're looking at right now. So the Atem Mini or the Atem Mini Pro, it allows you to have up to 4 different HDMI inputs. Recently, they also just came out with an SDI version if you're interested in that. But again, for the purposes of the conversation, we're talking about the HDMI version. So you can see there's slots for 1 camera, 2 camera, 3 camera, 4 cameras. You have the media player if you want to bring in graphics as well. You also see some streaming information there, and then you see audio information. You see a preview window and a program window, because it's really kind of impossible to do great production when you can't see what's going on. So the original Atem Mini, you would just have to know what camera angle is what, but you had no clue of knowing what was happening before then if you switched to a live. Now with the Atem Mini Pro, I'm able to go back and forth between my program and my preview outputs. And so I know when I'm doing production exactly what's on that screen, and I know how to switch live. Number two, the second thing that distinguishes the Atem Mini Pro from the Atem Mini is you can actually stream directly from the Atem Mini Pro without additional software. Okay, all right, so one of the biggest things I love about the Atem Mini Pro is that if you're ever in a crunch, you want to stream directly, specifically to Facebook, you want to go to YouTube or something like that, you can do that. There is functionality here to record directly to a USB. There is functionality here to record and stream. I'm not necessarily going to talk about that today. I can do another video. Let me know in the comments if that's something that you would like to see. But the purposes of this conversation, I really just kind of want to show you how to get things set up, how I use this specifically in my own use case and specifically at church. And I also want to talk about the audio and some of the things that may get people tripped up when they get introduced to a switcher such as the Atem Mini Pro. All right, so this is really dope because previously the price of the Atem Mini Pro was $395. All right, they've recently, because they did basically discontinued the original model, the Atem Mini, that price has gone from $395 to $295. If you're lucky, eBay, Facebook marketplaces, Meraki, those different types of sites, you may be able to find it even cheaper, you know, something like $250. I think that's probably going to be a good range, especially now that they dropped the price. But what I love about the Atem Mini Pro is because, again, you don't necessarily have to spend a lot of money. And again, depending on your budget, a lot of money can, you know, may be relative. But I know for me, I love shooting Sony cameras and I love shooting Sony mirrorless. And especially in a streaming environment, even in a church, a small church environment, if you're trying to go from like your phone or just really want to take your quality to the next level, you can simply use something like the A6000. the Sony a6000, you can see here, definitely still does a great job. I'll cut to this angle so you can see the Sony a6000. One of the things I love about it is that it shoots beautiful 1080p footage. All right, 1080p footage. Now this is not 4K, but it is 1080p, and I can guarantee you the 1080p coming out of a mirrorless camera like this is still going to be much better than what you're going to get out of something like your phone. A6000s right now you can definitely find used on the marketplace, maybe for around, you know, $300. Minimum is a definite sweet spot for something like that. But let's say you even want to upgrade your quality and go to something like 4K. All right, you know, so then you have something like the A6300 that actually was the first 4K camera, mirrorless camera, APS-C mirrorless camera that Sony actually came out with. And then you have like the 6500, 6400, 6600, so on, so on, so on, so on. Right now, you're actually looking at me on the Sony ZV-E10 that I have connected to the Atem Mini Pro, and then the camera that's actually capturing this angle is the Sony a7 IV. So again, you may not necessarily, you know, can't afford to go buy like, you know, $1,000, you know, like the Blackmagic Design production cameras. They come in at like, you know, $1,300 or $1,700. You may not necessarily have that in your budget. You may have a $500 budget for a camera, you know, so something like the Sony a6000 or something like the Sony a6300, which, you know, they're a bit outdated, but definitely they still do work. They weren't meant for production, but again, you can definitely get some accessories to go with these things to really kind of get them to work in a production format. Again, if that's something you want to know more about, the best accessories, batteries, micro HDMI adapters, all those cages, all those different types of things, memory cards, drop those in the comments as well. I'll definitely link some things in the description that I believe is going to help you take that to the next level. But I love this for smaller ministries, smaller organizations, content creators that may be doing this professionally for other people. This is a great tool to use, especially to get those multiple camera angles. And that's necessary, especially in the climate that we live in, you know, to give people a more dynamic experience, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, whether it's on Twitch, or whether it's simply something in a Zoom meeting or a Zoom call or a presentation or something like that. So now I really kind of want to talk about how I use this professionally, and more so specifically, how I use this in ministry. We do utilize this in ministry. I just want to kind of to give you an overview because again, I do have the ability to switch between the different sources. You can kind of see the green and the red light. The green is preview. And so again, I'll kind of switch to the preview mode so you can see that the green is preview, and then the red is actually what's live. I can control, you know, the mics and the mic volume from here, the audio that's coming into each of the cameras, picture in the picture, all of those different types of things I can really kind of control from the Atem Mini Pro. And this is not necessarily the video I want to do that in. So if that is what you want to see, specifically a complete rundown of the Atem Mini Pro, let me know that down in the comments, and we can continue to produce some more content specific around that. But I want to show you specifically how I use it, because again, I said most of the time, most people make videos showing you how to use this with software. You don't have to utilize with this software. You can go straight to Facebook, you can go straight to YouTube or whatever platform that you would like to do, because on the back of the Atem Mini Pro, they do have a USB webcam output. So right now, the reason you're able to see this is because I have the Atem Mini Pro using that USB-C webcam output plugged into my computer, and I actually have this plugged into the software that you guys hear me talk about so often, which is Ecamm Live. And I want to kind of show you how I use Ecamm Live in combination with the Atem Mini Pro. All right, so what you see me in right now is what's called live demo mode, which gives me the opportunity to feature Ecamm Live. So you're looking at the Ecamm Live interface. So what is so dope, because again, like I said, you don't necessarily need to utilize software with the Atem Mini Pro. You can do that all on its own. But the advantage of using a software like Ecamm Live is it takes your presentation ability to an entirely different level. So of course, you know, I can switch back and forth, you know what I'm saying, using the Atem Mini Pro. But let's say when I'm doing my shows or whatever, it gives me the ability to go in and then add overlays. All right. So now I'm just able, to kind of do something crazy. And right now, I still have the multi-view set up to a cam link going into the system. Let me cut back to the main view. So like I say, if I want to use the overlays or whatever, and I'm doing my Amazon live shopping thing, boom, if I want to go back to, we have another overlay like this. Well, let's switch it back to the camera. Let's switch it back to the camera, like we're supposed to. I don't know what's going on today, but y'all better get it together. There we go. You know what I'm saying? So if, so I can come in, switch it back, and I can do my, my different overlays like that. But then it gives me the ability, I can still switch within. So I have a lot of my peers who say, okay, well, I want to take advantage of the 4K of the camera, and I want to take advantage of all the features. So I'm gonna just go buy me 3 or 4 different cam links or whatever. Well, you can do that, but you want to make sure that you have a computer that can process all of that data, all of that information, because that's a capture card that you need for each individual camera, versus you have one capture card here that can manage all 4 of that. Now, do you get the ability of 4K? No, the Atem Mini Pro right now only outputs 1080p. All right. The beautiful thing is, though, you really can't tell. I still look great. I'm actually still recording this in 4K. So the 1080p that's going from the Atem Mini Pro is actually being upscaled right now. And you can't tell me that this quality still doesn't look good. The beautiful thing about Sony cameras is most of them are downsampled. Like the A6300 is downsampled from 6K to 4K. Then you're outputting that to a 1080p signal. So you're really taking like 6K worth of pixels, putting it in a 1080p frame. So you're actually getting much better of a picture quality, you know what I'm saying, than you normally would. Same thing with the ZV-E10, same thing with the Sony a7 IV that you're looking at now. But this is the beautiful thing that comes along with using something with Ecamm Live, because again, I'm able to mix things up. I'm able to create overlays. I'm able to play videos directly from here. I'm able to monitor comments. I'm able to change, if I don't like the color, you know what I'm saying, that's being put out, I can change all of that. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing that live right now. And so that's the benefit of using this in combination with something like Ecamm Live. If you're interested in finding out more information about Ecamm Live, I'll post a link to some videos I've done specifically with that. You can also find that in the info card. Either YouTube is going to put it over here or they're going to put it over here. I don't know. They're changing stuff every single day. Also, there's a free trial. You can try this out risk-free for all of my Mac users. It's not available for Windows, but if you're a Mac user, 14 days free trial. You ain't even got to put your credit card in. No questions asked. Go ahead, find out what Ecamm Live is about. Now, the last thing I really want to talk about is the thing that really kind of trips people up is the audio. The audio is kind of the big thing that really makes things confusing for the Atem Mini Pro. So let's talk about that real quick, and then I'm gonna let you get out of here. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about is the audio setup for the Atem Mini Pro, because if the Atem Minis have a weakness, this is typically where it is. Now, I do want to put an addendum here, because the Atem Mini Extreme, which allows you to have like 8 inputs or whatever, you have a program and a multi-view, basically 2 USB-Cs. So you can basically connect up to 2 devices or connect to computer and record at the same time. You have 2 HDMIs, so you can set that up how you want to. So ideally, you have a multi-view on one HDMI and then a program out if you want to do something else with that. But then you also have a headphone jack to be able to monitor your audio, right? So that's the biggest thing. That headphone jack is the one thing that's really missing from the Atem Mini Pro. But what really gets people about the Atem Mini is the inputs, because it's not necessarily a professional input setup. You really don't have your 1/4 inch stereo, XLR ins and outs that you normally see when working with professional mixers or whatever. And I'm coming at this from a church production standpoint, because typically most situations you probably at least have a mixer in church. And so connecting your mixer to the Atem Mini Pro or the Atem Mini has always been an issue for people. How you do that, because you have to go down to this 3.5 millimeter jack. So basically an aux cable. So it's like, okay, how do I get that? How do I run that from my mixer into that? Now, for my case specifically, I'm utilizing a Rodecaster Pro 2. Before then, I was utilizing the Rodecaster Pro. So actually right now, I'm running the Rodecaster Pro 2 USB into the computer, into Ecamm, and that's how you're getting the audio right now. If I wanted to run the audio directly from the Rodecaster Pro 2 into the Atem Mini, I'm going to need specifically some cables, some 1/4 inch cables, because that's the output. So on the Rodecaster Pro 2, I'm gonna need some 1/4 inch cables like that. All right, and then on the other end, I can't find the cables that I normally use for this. I just had to makeshift put something together. We're gonna have the normal, let's do the old YouTube way, the normal 3.5 millimeter jack. Now again, depending on your setup, you may not use that. I have another mixer that goes, basically, it has a line out with the 3.5 millimeter. So you can literally go line out to line in, same cable. Something, a Zoom recorder, if you're in the field, or you use something like a Zoom H6 or a Zoom H4, Zoom H4n, same thing. But again, for your situation, you know, it just kind of depends. Some people may just want to run a mic directly into the Atem Mini. You know, if you do have the capability for that, like a Rode wireless Go setup, you can run the mic directly into it, or Rode Video Go mic, or any kind of shotgun mic like that, you can do that. But I want to show you specifically one of the settings that you definitely need to change to make sure that you don't get tripped up. I also kind of want to show you what the software looks like to make sure that we're attacking that appropriately. So let's jump over here into, and I'm showing the wrong thing to y'all. All right, so let's jump over here into the Atem software control. Now, one of the things that I want you to see is that you can see there's audio that's being picked up. All right, this gray signal that's jumping up and down here, this is audio that is being picked up right now. That's coming from camera 1, which is my ZVE10 that I'm speaking directly, probably close to. So that's picking up the loudest. Then there's other audio you see back here. You see how louder that got? That's the Sony A7 IV that's right behind me. Now notice neither one of these are on. So I can do one of two things. I can turn this on from the software, and then they will both turn green. And now you see it jumps over here to the master. I'll turn that back off, or I can turn this on directly from the switcher itself. I can go on, and then I can go on. And then you see, if you're looking at my view, you can see those buttons, they actually go red when I do that. Now I want to go back to the view over here. Why is this important? Because I technically in church use a line output. I'm not using a microphone. I'm using a line out from the switcher. And normally what happens, I run that into mic 1. I run that into mic 1. So technically mic 1 would be on, and then you have a backup that you could also run into mic 2. And you see how those things up here, these buttons light up. Now, right now, I don't have that set up, you know, but how about this? I'm going to show you that. Let's do this live. I'm going to show you that just so we can get that going, because I want you to be able to see, and I don't want you to think I'm lying. When I say, you know, we get the audio out from the Rodecaster Pro 2 into the Atem Mini Pro, because some of you may have a similar setup like this. So let me go ahead and get this done for you real quick. All right, so basically what we did, we just took the outputs from the back of the Rodecaster Pro 2, because again, I still have a main left and a main out, and I was able to run that into the adapter, which goes from stereo out, the 1/4 inch going to the 3.5 millimeter jack of the back of the Atem Mini Pro. And you can see here we have that audio being monitored right here. All right, so again, you see the camera audio still going off. I'm not gonna add that to the stream, you know what I'm saying? But you can see we have that audio, because if I was to hit the off button, then you're gonna see that it goes away. Okay, so it's gonna turn gray. So it's still being registered, letting me know that I am getting a signal. But if I do wanna add that to my stream, boom, I can add that to my stream. Now let me show you here where people really kind of get mixed up at. You wanna go down here in the left-hand corner, there's a cog wheel. You wanna click on that, and that's gonna open up your settings for audio. You can see here you have the opportunity to split audio. So if you wanna split the audio on left to right, You can do that. I do that, you know what I'm saying, intentionally, just in case I want to do some crazy configuration where my left side is different than my right side, in case I want to have a safety channel or something like that. And then go over here to general. This is by default is set to microphone. So if if your signal is way too loud or something is just off, make sure you check your audio settings to change your microphone to line output. If you're using a mixer, you want to use the line output. But if you're using something like the Rode Wireless Go 2, or if you're using something like a Video Go Mic Pro with the setup that you may have boomed or something like that, and you're just using the Atem Mini Pro to switch, then you want to leave that on microphone. But for the purpose of actually recording coming from a mixer, you want to make sure you check that and change that to your line output. So what I'm going to do is show you a poor man's way to monitor the audio. Dope thing is, like for instance, I'm using Ecamm Live. So if I need to monitor directly from the software, I can. Also, I'm using the Rodecaster Pro 2. So if I need to monitor audio directly from the interface of the Rodecaster Pro 2, I can. But let's just say you're in a situation where you're running a mixer in church or at your event, and you're the person that's directing or running the stream or all of that, and you need to be able to monitor the audio by ear, so you can make sure, looking at the signals, you can be like, hey, everything looks pretty good, but I want to know what it sounds like. Poor man's way to do this is actually go over here to QuickTime. If you have QuickTime on your computer, you can open up QuickTime. You want to go to File, and then you want to go to New Audio Recording. All right. And then you want to click here on this drop down, and you want to go to where it says Blackmagic Design. Mine was already that by default, Blackmagic Design. And when you click on that, you can see there's an audio signal. QuickTime is picking up the audio signal. So what happens is, if I plug in a pair of headphones to the computer or whatever I'm using, I get to hear. All I have to do is turn up, you know what I'm saying, the headphone. That's going to allow me to hear. And I can then, and you know what? You guys probably just heard that because I have my system audio up. So let me turn that down and do that again. So if I turn this up here, then that allows me to hear that in the headphones, and then boom, you're gonna be good to go. So like I said, audio is kind of tricky when it comes to the Atem Mini Pro, because there are a bunch of different ways that you can do it. Again, me personally, you know, I choose to just run all of my audio into the Rodecaster Pro 2, and then I'm running that USB into Ecamm Live. Now within Ecamm Live, I do need to run about 2 or 3 frames delay to get everything to match up, you know. But other than that, if I wanted everything to be synced naturally, I can either run my line in to one of the cameras, and like you already showed you can turn that on from there, or I can run that directly into the Atem Mini Pro, and then we can control it like that. All right, so hopefully that made sense. Again, I know that was kind of a lot of information packed into somewhat of a short time. There is kind of no shortcut, no short way to really get into live stream production. There are 1,000 different ways you can do it. Again, my typical setup, I use a Sony ZV-E10, Sigma 16 millimeter, run that into a cam link, you know what I'm saying, which allows me to use my mirrorless camera as a webcam. Rodecaster Pro 2 is taking care of my audio that's running into the computer. That's a typical setup. You know, if I want to bring in multiple angles, I do have 2 other cam links. Sometimes I'll do that. But if I know it's going to be a long stream or it's going to be pretty taxing or something like that, I may just pull out the Atem Mini Pro, and that's going to give me the ability to just be quick. You know, be quick. You know, some of you have replaced this using something like the Stream Deck and a bunch of, you know, cam links. To each its own. But as it relates specifically to the Atem Mini Pro, I want to engage with you. Let me know in the comments. Are you utilizing this setup? How is your audio setup? How are you monitoring your audio? Do you have the regular Atem Mini and you see a need to switch to the Atem Mini Pro? If you're using the Atem Mini Extreme, are you using all 8 inputs? Or are you only using 4? Has anybody gotten the new Atem Mini SDI version? You know, like I said, there are a lot of different ways we can go with this. But again, I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of how I utilize this in my setup. And then when I'm working with other ministries, consultations, and things like that, these are some of the things that I show them and I help them do as well. So again, I appreciate you watching, taking the time. First time here, hit that like button, also hit that subscribe button. And while you're at it, hit that bell so you can be notified every single time I post new content to the channel. But until next time, I'll catch you guys on the next video.